Okay, so next let's talk about foreground, middle grounds, and backgrounds. So these three areas in your image are really important to be aware of. Their relationship can add dynamic interest, especially when you're adding a foreground element in things like landscapes. So let's look at this image here, this background image for a second. And it's a little bit cut off because of the whole slideshow thing, but we can still see the basic parts of it. So we have a foreground element, this boat here floating. This would be considered your foreground, the closest to the viewer. We have our middle ground, which is this beautiful island. And then we have the background, which would be the sky. And even we have this little boat back here, which adds another point of interest. So imagine if this little boat here wasn't here. It would still be a nice photo. This is really pretty back here, and the water is nice, but adding that extra foreground element does make it a little bit more of an exciting image. Another way to, especially when it comes to like landscapes and such, come on, here we go. So as humans, we are attracted to other humans, and not like attracted like that way, but our focus goes to them. They catch our attention. So when you add a human to a composition, it usually makes it more eye-catching. It's not always necessary, but just something I want to point out to you. So here's an example right here. So if you remember from our other Yosemite photo, this is taken on the same day. I'm over here. This is, really pretty. We've got a nice little waterfall back here, another waterfall. We have Half Dome. We have these trees, and this is working out okay. We have the nice gorgeous background image. And then we have some interesting middle ground, with some trees and some bushes. This here would be considered our foreground. It's not that interesting though. But I got lucky as I was sitting here photographing. This person walked up and stood on the ledge, so I backed up real fast, and this created a whole nother element to my photo that really helped make it more dynamic and exciting. So now we still have that same beautiful background. Our foreground is a little lessened because I had to step back. We still have a few trees, but the foreground element really works well, especially with this. We're going to talk about balance next week a little bit, but we have this really strong element right here, and then we have this balancing it out over here. And not only that, this is a really bright area of an image, so our eye goes there, and then we have the contrast of the really dark clothing that creates a nice little juxtaposition of what's going on here. So this worked out really well. So let's look at a couple more examples where the foreground element really made the image a little bit extra special. So here we have this, gorgeous scene, right? We have this beautiful tree coming around, and that's closest to us. Now, this is actually working a little bit more like framing, which is something we're going to talk about in a couple more videos here. But this is framing the area around the image and taking us right to our subject, which is this woman here. We have this gorgeous background. Everything's working really well. Now, without, the tree here, or the woman, I consider both of them kind of foreground subjects. They're both pretty close to us. It would still be a really nice image, still be a good photo, but having that foreground, middle ground, background all working together really adds an extra punch to the image. Same here, this would be a really cool image, but then having the cat right there, positioned perfectly, worked out great. Okay, next we have, this would be a nice photo of, I think, I'm not sure what city it is, but it would be a nice photo overall of the city. But having this foreground element of this person sitting here really just gives it an extra level of dynamicness to this image. And something else to note is when you have a person in an image and you can't recognize who they are, it actually makes it a little bit easier for someone who's looking at the photo to put themselves in that place. It's not just a specific person anymore, it's a general person. So now I can imagine myself sitting here enjoying this view as well. All right, and now for this last one, I would argue that the foreground element actually is what makes this image. If you can imagine this car not being here and just having this going on here, it'd be okay. It's a city view, all right, whatever. But having this extra piece here really brings me into the image, makes me feel like I'm right there. And then it has a nice, quality of, we have the two cars here and then a third car here. So, and they're really bright yellow colors. So we're kind of bouncing around. On top of that, we have this bright sun up here. So we're starting to like bounce around this whole image and moving our eye around. Beautiful. All right. So in the next video, I'm going to talk about the rule of thirds.